I mean, I just chose books that I liked that I thought reflected the way the characters saw themselves as writers. So I thought Greg Kinnear's character would love Cheever and Carver, and that's the kind of books that he would read and who he would think that he was that kind of writer. And so Rusty loves Stephen King because he's a teenager, and that's what I loved when I was a teenager. And Logan, his character, loves all the mystery and crime writers.
So what happens if Stephen King doesn't say he's going to be in the movie? What do you do then?
That would have been very, very bad. Yeah, I loved Stephen King when I was a teenager, and I was raised by very Christian parents who used to burn his books in the fireplace if they found them. And
Would you pull them out and douse them with water,
I hid him
or
in the
hide
box, I hid him in the box springs under my bed. I remember one summer laying under my bed, like, and reading The Stand. And so yeah, I loved his stuff a lot, and I wrote him a letter when I was 12 and sent him some books to sign, and he sent them back to me and wrote me a beautiful letter. And so I got to go back to him all these years later and just say, I'm going to make a movie. Would you please come be in it? And I was lucky enough that he's really nice, and he said sure and did it. And it was great. I still remember the day that my producer, Judy Cairo, called me and said, I'm gonna be your favorite person when I tell you what I'm going to tell you. And I was like, what are you going to tell me? And she's like, I got Stephen King. And I was like, yes.
And I'll never forget, you called me right after crying on the phone.
Yeah. It was bad.
Did you cry when he got you?
I did.
No,
I was like,
I was
like this with Lily.
I think I was crying.
Yeah.
I remember where I was. I was in a nail salon, and I was sitting down.
Oh,
and
that's right.
I had fought for this for what, like 6 months, 7
Yeah.
months. I really
Yeah.
wanted it, and I remember sitting there, and my agent said to me, I have good news and bad news. Good news is you got writers. Bad news is you can't do it. And then why can't I do it? Because it was exactly the same time as a press tour of mine, but we.
And so
worked it out.
she did the press tour while she did our movie. So she took how many flights in and out?
I took 23 flights during this shoot.
During the
Yeah.
filming of this movie?
Yeah.
Always knew her lines, always on time.
When I read the script, it was the first time, and since then it's been the only time I've ever read something that I couldn't imagine somebody else playing, and whatever it took, whether I was tired or it didn't matter for me for this project.
I grew up watching movies. My best friend and I were like the little kids in Super 8, and we just made movies growing up on video, and we went to see every movie and watched every movie and studied directors' careers and listened to Laserdisc commentaries back in the day and DVD commentaries, and that's kind of how we educated ourselves, I guess. And I mean, I wrote my first script when I was in high school, and we just tried to make that and just kept writing ever since, and had projects that almost happened that we had actors attached to that just didn't happen, and then this one worked out. And it was like pushing a snowball up a hill for 10 years, and then it just started to roll down by itself. But that's kind of what it felt like.
Like the first time, our first meeting, he's like, just be my dream to get Jennifer Connelly, but that would just never happen. It's like every time that I mentioned that Josh Boone was like a first-time writer-director, everyone goes, how the heck did he get that cast? Like, how did he get a movie made so well done with amazing producers, an amazing team, an amazing Tim Orr? Like,
I think you should ask him. How did
how did you do that?
He's right here.
No,
how did you do it?
It was, it was amazing. And I'll never forget the first day of set, though. Like, Josh you'd sit behind the camera, like right in all of our eye lines, and you'd just be sitting there like this, and we'd be in the middle of a scene, and we're like, Josh, you have to move, So it's like, there were days when you go, okay, this is gonna be, we're all gonna have like a fun time. And then there were days when you go, oh my God, he's so brilliant. Like, how can this be your first time?
I'm like Forrest Gump. It's like sometimes there's brilliance and other times I'm a moron. So.
But just the way that it all came together. I've known Nat since he was 8. Nat knew Liana before. I had just done a film with Greg before. Like, so we all kind of had this very like familial vibe anyway. And we shot in such a small place, and we all lived pretty much together.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it was like leaving summer camp. We were all so upset.
Yeah, it was very emotional. Because
Yeah.
we would all go bowling.
Yeah, we all went bowling.
Yeah,
We all,
go to
there
the
was like
movies and
not
go eat.
that much to do.
I think that's
other than
yeah.
bowling and eating.
I mean, that's a good thing, though. I think like when
Yeah.
people shoot in big cities and they can go home.
Where were you shooting?
We shot in Wilmington, North Carolina, which was beautiful, and we had amazing crews, and it was just really cool. And everybody kind of had to bond because we all lived together in the same hotel and got up and had breakfast together every day. And
Well, it's funny. I also have always loved writing. I started writing for magazines at 15, so journalism and expressing myself through words has always been something I felt really close to. obviously not as
And
promiscuous
that's
as
what I was
Samantha.
really impressed about that when we met the first time. I remember you telling me that. I was like, you've published in all these magazines.
Right. So we connected a lot on writing from the get-go. But I think Samantha, I remember first reading the script going, wait, all of her monologues are so all over the place and they're so witty and smart, but she doesn't think about what she's saying. She just spews out information that's coming from such a deep place of mistrust and fear, and whether it was in love or her family or just the world in general. And the way that she writes is so cynical, and yet she's so smart, but she just rants and rants and rants. So of course, as an actor going through that, knowing I have 4 hours on a plane that I can memorize this before I fall asleep to go do whatever, I memorized lines like 2 months in advance and said them over and over and over in the mirror so that they became so boring that I could just stand there and just spew out the line at the beginning to the frat boy, because she didn't care.
For me, music set the tone for everything. I brought music to the actors, and they all had mixed CDs waiting for them in their hotel rooms when they got there. And that was how I made sure all the actors were on the same page.
What did they listen to? I mean, what were the kinds of things you were
Stuff
giving
that's
them?
in the movie
Okay.
that was written into it. Bright Eyes, there's Bright Eyes songs in it. His band did the score. A lot of the songs that were written in the script, the Between the Bars Elliott Smith song certainly was in the script.
He had come up with little care packages for each of us as our characters. So we had a CD of music that Sam would listen to, or and a book for each actor to read that really resembled their character. And it was really cool to have a director that cared so much that, to understand this is the essence of your character, and now take it and run. It was a very warm thing to walk into.
Do you remember the book he gave you?
Nope.
What,